Hello and welcome to Rediscovering Childhood, a podcast that brings you lots of practical information to help you become a more conscious parent. This podcast is brought to you by Discovery Playtime, an Irish business that provides high-quality educational and sensory toys to help your children develop skills through play. Visit discoveryplaytime.ie or download the app to get inspired. Today we're joined by Jayne Sherlock. Jayne will talk about secure attachment and will share the things she learned during her career in early years that helped her figure out her parenting journey in a more confident way. She will encourage us to promote independence and quality time when it comes to spending time with our children on a daily basis, while keeping things as basic and simple as possible. Jayne's background in Montessori and early childhood will inspire you to become a more conscious parent as you listen to this episode today. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Rediscovering Childhood. Today we're joined by Jayne Sherlock. She's from Dublin, living in Kildare, mommy to 2 children, and she has a degree in early childhood studies, Montessori as well, teaching diploma and train the trainer.
Yes.
The new course. Hello, Jayne.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
So good to have you today, and you have so much to share with the world, so you're in the right place. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, no probs. So where to start? I suppose in 2007 I started in the early years and I started as a Montessori teacher, and I worked for a number of years doing that, and then I kind of just felt, okay, is this what I want to be doing? I always felt it was, but there was something just not sitting well with me, so I went off and had a little break, and it made me realise even more than ever how much I actually did want to be doing what I was doing. So it gave me that little bit of a zest to kind of get back into it. And I just flourished then, really did. I progressed on to like a supervisory capacity and then on to management. And I worked in management for a number of years then. And then I became mammy and my whole world changed.
You can't be manager of your children. They'll manage you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's so funny. Like I suppose over the years, having worked in the early years, like even before we had the kids, it was like at a family party or a get together of friends who had children. It would be, see the way mine's doing this at the minute, and is that okay, and all those kind of things. And I nearly, I suppose, silly of me, kind of felt coming into being a parent, oh no, I think I have a good bit of knowledge. No, absolutely, everything went out the window.
Yeah, you never know until you're there. And every child is different. So even having 5-10 kids, it's going to be like it's the first time every time.
Absolutely, yes, yeah, definitely. So that have really been my biggest learning to date, I suppose. And then I worked for a year. I spent a lot of time, energy and too much money into trying to set up my own service. There was a lot of red tape, which is totally understandable from Tusla's point of view in relation to setting up a service. But my heartache really was through the county council. So there was so much red tape in relation to getting the change of planning permission. The costing alone was really kind of significant, so much so that it was going to impact my budget as to what I was able to offer as an early year service. So I really had to make a decision as to whether I pursued this and kind of minimise what I am actually able to offer, which is then really jeopardising the quality of the service I wanted to provide, or what do I do? So a massive part of me wanting to open my service, as much as I wanted to have that, a large part of that was my other passion is the training, development and support of the staff working in the sector, but also then for parents as well. So my vision was at the time that I was going to have my own service, and from that then I was going to have nearly a training centre attached inside then as well. And throughout that year, all these obstacles that kept cropping up, I kind of started to think to myself, like, why is this going wrong? This is like, I'm so clear with my vision. I'm very much so for the universe and manifesting, but I suppose I trusted in the process as to what the universe's plan was for me, and I couldn't be happier because now it makes sense. So when it didn't work out with opening my own service, I went back to managing for a very short period of time, and then I took a leap somewhat out of the earlier sector, but it's still very much so linked as well. So I'm actually now working for one of Tusla's ABC programmes. I work for the Childhood Development Initiative. They're based up in Tallaght, and it's an absolutely amazing opportunity to be able to kind of link in early years, but then at the same time through the social care lens. And it's just opened my eyes massively now, really, as to certain gaps within services across Ireland, which is nothing new, really. I suppose we're all very that's very much so knowledgeable of that. But yeah, and I'm working away doing that at the minute. I'm also tutoring at the minute is the current QQI level 6 with Montessori, which is going to change now that they're rolling out the new programme. So this is the last strand of the level 6 and level 5 as we know it. It is going to change. There's been a big reform, and I think it's really positive as well for the sector, because it is definitely kind of putting that extra little bit of professionalism into it, and that acknowledgement of the value of the early years staff within the sector then as well. So I'm doing that then as well, and aside from that then I am kind of pursuing my own little space of parent and support then as well, and like that, just even to have the opportunity to link in with amazing professionals in the sector who are somewhat advocating for the sector as well. It's always so great to link in with anyone, and that's one thing I suppose since I've started in CDI is everywhere you go, like there's so many amazing services and resources out there that no one knows about, really. It's all kind of getting talking, networking and finding out of these amazing initiatives that can be rolled out across. And I want to nearly use that as my platform to share with parents, not just for, I suppose, from where I'm working, but on a bigger scale then as well. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's a lot, but so needed, every bit of it. It's so needed in this community. Just to start from the basics, you talk about Montessori. I just want to clarify, what's the difference between Montessori or just a preschool that's not Montessori?
So the Montessori method of education will be very specific in the materials that are on offer for the child in that environment. So Marie Montessori devised all of her materials based on sensitive periods that children would go through. And I suppose it's in order for the child to be going through a sensitive period, be it for language, be it for socialising, that there's an equipment and a piece of material available and accessible within the room for them to be able to nurture that part of their development at that time. Another big part of it would be, I suppose, the environment. So Marie Montessori believed a lot in the preparation of the environment and the importance and the role of the Montessori directress or the Montessori teacher in that then as well. So I suppose years ago it would have all been seen as, it's very strict in a Montessori school, which I suppose it can look as strict, but at the same time, if you really kind of look at it, I think Marie Montessori was so far ahead of her years. She really, really was. And even now looking at it, like it's Ashter. It's really, really Ashter, I feel. So I definitely feel there has been a bit of a shift and a bit of a change from...
We made it our own, I think. Yeah. We adapted it to our culture and our environment and made it our own. So that's important.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's funny, the Montessori elements of it, I suppose, it's something that I feel nearly sticks with you in a personal capacity, do you know, that kind of way. So like that, even with my boys, from the time that they were only starting to walk, I was very much so wanting to nurture their independence, and the reference to the practical life skills and empowering them to do things for themselves would definitely be at kind of the forefront of what I encourage from my little two. So yeah, it really has kind of, the Montessori has just really impacted me as a person, not just in a professional capacity, but also on a personal level then as well. And
I really like that, promote that independence by letting them do the real thing. You're letting them help you with the laundry, with the swiping, with the cleaning, with the cooking, with the baking, everything. It's not pretend play only.
Yes.
It's the real life, and promote their sense of belonging to the family, to the household, and make them feel useful, that they belong to that place and they're important.
Absolutely. Like, that's half of the battle, like, do you know that way? And it's funny, like, even with like, again, I suppose through the Montessori lens, looking at the materials, like when I was adamant the boys were getting a kitchen, and some people might pass comment to say, with their boys, why are they playing with a kitchen? I'm like, no, this is not a gender issue at all. This is literally they're part of the home. What does daddy do? What does mommy do? Let them be themselves and contribute, really, I suppose. But I know like a lot of the toys that we would have got would have been plastic and wooden, whereas I think there's so much importance and value to them actually peeling a potato with me. And I know for some people that's like, oh my God, you let your kids peel potatoes.
Absolutely.
I do. Like, do you know that way? Because it's a real life hands-on experience. They're getting to feel the different textures of different vegetables. Now obviously it's all very much so supervised, but at the same time it is kind of just giving them that opportunity, and it really is kind of filling their cup of self-esteem and their own independence. Say, oh my God. And it's so funny, anytime that the kiddies make the dinner, they're the dinners that got eaten because they've put the preparation into it and they're nearly proud of, look what I did. Do you know, that kind of way?
That's
so
incredible. Yeah.
I definitely,
and they feel like you trust them as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's empowering them. I suppose that's what our job is, not necessarily from an early years educator perspective, which it would be, but also from that of a parent. It's really about nurturing and empowering the child to do things for themselves. And I think that was one of the Montessori quotes that would resonate with me, was help me to do it for myself.
Yeah.
So you're not doing it for me. You're going to help me that I have the skills and I can continue to build on those skills, which is a massive life lesson in itself, really.
That's really good. Can you say that again? Because we need to listen to hear that again, the quote.
Yeah, so the Montessori quote. I'm under pressure now, thinking that
I
it's
love
exactly
it. We need
done.
to say it 5 times.
Yes, a mantra.
Stick it in. Yeah, repeat with us.
So help me to do it for myself.
I love it, yeah.
I'll have to double check now that
No,
is
it's okay. It works.
But
it works.
It's help
when
me
you
do it for
try
myself.
to help them before they ask for help, you're not helping.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I feel it might not look it, but when you really kind of delve into it and think about it on a kind of broad scope, I suppose, what are you teaching your child and saying to them, oh no, I'm going to do that for you? You're showing them, no, you're not good enough to do that. You're not capable to do that. I'm better at doing that than you. It's always more often not coming from a place of love. I'm coming from a place of, I want to protect you. That's my role as a parent or an educator. But I think there's so much value to encouraging a child to do things for themselves, not just for their sense of independence, but for their self-esteem. And again, these are life skills that are going to stick with them.
To look at the bigger picture. It's not what's happening at the moment. It's, down 5-10 years, that self-esteem, that confidence, that takes time to build. And these are the actions that will help build that self-esteem.
Definitely. And especially in the formative years. Like, that's when all these foundations are being laid for life, really. Like, so to be able to nurture that. And it can be something that I suppose can be quite easily done. And at times, from my own experience with my boys, there's times like, oh my God, the house needs to be sorted. I need to get a dinner done. We need to get baths. Daily life, really. I've been on the hamster wheel. And the last thing you're going to do is, why am I going to open up this can of worms and have my child now chopping carrot peels in the middle of it? But genuinely, and it is hard to kind of get over that little hurdle. And once you start to do it, then everything seems, in my opinion, seems to go that little bit smoother because they're feeling a part of it. They're not kind of separate to what you're doing. No, they're just as much included in the daily chores or the daily tasks that need to be carried out. And again, it's just preparation for them for future life as well.
And that links as well with something we were talking earlier about perfectionism.
Yes.
Like the carrots don't need to be cut perfectly. It doesn't matter. It's about doing it together and building that connection and letting them do it in their own way as they learn. But, don't be afraid that the carrots are not cut perfectly or the potatoes are not peeled perfectly, or it's okay.
Absolutely. Like, that alone is a lesson in itself as well. Do you know, that kind of way? And I find at times like it's nearly building that awareness within a child to strive for better and to want to progress themselves and nurture their skills and practice. And a child naturally, and again with reference to Montessori, it would be that if a child is carrying out an exercise or a piece of work from the Montessori cycle, that they're repeating it over and over and over again. Like, that's naturally inbuilt within a child. So without you having to actually say to that child, okay, so you didn't peel that properly, you need to get all the skin off. They're going to know themselves naturally. Okay, the next time I do, what am I doing? Like, it's inbuilt within them. So to nurture that as much as possible, I definitely think there's so much value to it. And again, it can be so simply done. Really, really can be so simply done and incorporated into the daily life, really.
Yeah, that's it. And that takes pressure off our plate, because we don't need to create extra activities. We can just use the everyday activities to create that play. Because for them, it's play. It's,
absolutely.
They're games.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And like that mammy guilt, you're going to have mammy guilt no
Regardless,
matter what you do. If there's a cure out there for that, I think that's the $1 million maker there. But like that, to kind of say, right, kiddies are gone to bed now. Yeah, we got through the evening or whatever we needed to do. But at the same time, it could be, oh God, you know what, I didn't get to sit and play with them today. Whereas if you adapt them into your daily life, it's like, we actually had amazing quality interactions. We weren't physically playing with toys, plastic toys, wooden toys.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. We had that real life engagement, quality interaction, quality connection as well, which I think can sometimes alleviate the guilt. Not to say that it will ever get rid
but
of
it helps. Absolutely. And you said having a background in the early years really helped you to know things that maybe you wouldn't be aware of when becoming a mom. What are these things, and how can parents who are not, don't have a background in early years education, where can they find the support?
Yeah, so I suppose, I don't need to say, I think it's very commonly known, the lack of acknowledgement for the value of the early years sector. And I suppose, especially nowadays in the current climate of trying to access services, there definitely has been a shift in parenting across society. So years ago, it would have been that parents are accessing services on the foot of a consultation with a GP or a public health nurse, and they're looking at, say, okay, there might be an area of concern that we want to promote a certain area of development more so, or speech, or whatever the case may be. Whereas now I feel that parents are very much so aware, and nearly sometimes to their own detriment, of, oh my God, Mary's child is doing this and Billy's child is doing this. Why is my child not doing that? So I definitely think there's so much value to be had and to be shared between the early years sector as the missing link in this current crisis, I suppose, that we have. I suppose with reference to my knowledge and how I adapted that into my parenting really would have been, and that's not to say, like, I think I said earlier that it was very much so silly. I thought, okay, yeah, Jesus, I was always the one. Jesus, she's great with kids. She works with kids. And then I actually was a parent, and it's like, no, this is not at all. I'm by no means equipped with the knowledge. But throughout my parenting journey, there have been so many times that I've been able to tap into that knowledge and experience at times where I might have been uncertain over certain areas of development. There had been times I might have been unsure over like what activities to be doing with them, and sometimes again it was more often than not found in the most simplest and the most basic of things that I could kind of, oh, I remember we did this at a time or that in a time, and how to kind of incorporate that into the daily part as well. So that's my plan, I suppose, with the Early Learning University, that it is going to be a platform in which I can collaborate with the amazing professionals across Ireland that are actively doing amazing work, and it's not necessarily very prevalent as much so as maybe an SLT or an occupational therapist, but I definitely feel that we do need the recognition, and the value and the importance of the sector does definitely need to be acknowledged more. There has been times throughout my parenting that if I had a button to switch off my knowledge, that I would, because there's times that I felt maybe, okay, I'm looking at this from the early years. I have the early years hat on, whereas there's times I needed to take that off, throw it away and put the mammy hat back on and just be mammy. So there's so much beauty and joy to that. But it definitely was a nice kind of little lifeline at times for me to rely on. And there's been so many times, and again, that's not me saying I had the experiences in the early years so I'm able to bring this into parenting. As you said, like, every single child is different, like from children that I would have worked with to my own kids against each other. Every single child is different. But I suppose there was so many different approaches and strategies. It could be 10 different things if we're having an issue, like one of which was transitions we were struggling with in my house. So as simple as putting up the visual schedule, and more often than not, like, parents might say, oh, I thought you needed to have the visual schedule under the OT has recommended, or it might be, oh, my child has just recently got a diagnosis and the guidance and the advice was to adapt visuals in the home environment. But I suppose the visual support would just be one element of something that is constantly used in the early years environment for all children in attendance. So I definitely feel there's some part of that can be adapted in the home environment, and in a very easy way then as well. So that would be kind of where I feel I kind of dip in and out of it throughout parenting, but it by no means means that I know what I'm doing, because I'm winging it just as much as everyone else. There's times I think, like, God, if anyone could see me now, they'd be thinking, Jesus, she hasn't a notion. Like, she probably just never even worked with a child before she had her own thing. Absolutely. Like, it's just... So yeah, and I suppose there was times that I would have been very thankful and grateful for the fact that I had the knowledge and the experience that I had. And even though I had that, I still felt overwhelmed so many times that I'm like, what am I actually doing? How can I do what I need to be and have this idea of the perfect mum again, which does not exist? Like, do you know that way? So that's where my passion, I suppose, is really coming forward now, that I'll be able to offer training and support for parents. And just kind of tie together as much as I can what knowledge and value is out there through the early years.
Yeah, and I really like that thing you said about comparing children, and you know, they all develop at different rhythms and different times and different stages. And I actually have an example of that, because I was told by the teacher my daughter needed to go to English support because she was so behind on reading and writing. And I was, because of my background, and that's what I did, the times that I can use it, I said, no, she needs time. She's only 6.
Yes.
She's not supposed to read or write.
Yes.
Just give her time. I'm not concerned at all. She's reading Harry Potter now. She's 8. And she's reading Harry Potter, and she writes better than me.
Oh my God.
So, you know, like, it's just that confidence to say, no, I know when something might be, I should be concerned. And now I know she just needs time. She's still playing, and she's very creative, and she's still writing and playing with doing messy play potions and things. And that's what they should be doing. Yeah. Because it builds such a solid and strong base for then, when they're ready, they'll read or write and write, but there's no rush.
Yes, absolutely. And like that, I suppose there's no such thing as an expert. The expert is the child.
Yeah.
And the parent, like, the parent is the expert of their own child. The child is the teacher for that parent, really. Do you know that way? And as you said, to have the confidence within yourself, like, it can be so hard, I suppose, as a first time mum especially, or even just becoming a mummy to a new child, even if you have children previously, that at times you're kind of overwhelmed with these professionals. And, oh, well, public health nurse says I need to do this, so that's what I need to do. And even thinking it at times, it might be a battle inside yourself that, like, no, but my gut feeling is telling me.
Listen to it.
And it's
you have your own professional at home telling you what they need. Just listen to that. And I think that's the only thing that makes us a good parents is that we're willing and we're able to listen to our own children. That's all we can do.
Yeah. Absolutely, it is. And as you said, that's the foundation for everything, really, is that connection, that engagement.
So the early training, is that your business?
So yeah, so when I initially set it up, the Early Learning University, when I initially set it up, it was as my creche, my early year service. And I suppose a lot of the thought behind it would be, as I said, like, I'm very much so for people sometimes like, what is she on about with the universe? But I do believe there's a lot of power in the universe and what you put out there, and to get back and just practicing mindfulness as much as possible, and being grateful for what you have then as well, and really just enjoying the simple things in life and bringing it back to basics. So I suppose the university again was a little bit of reference to the acknowledgement of the sector. So like that, to have like, if the formative years are the most important, crucial, that's your blueprint map for your life, really, like what interaction and what engagement that you have during those years. And I suppose my reference to the university was nearly to say that it is a universe. Like, it is a university, it is third level, if not, like, do you know, that kind of way to really just show what they are doing. Like, over the years, like, maybe you might have a parent saying, oh, they just played with Lego today, and it's like, oh my God, no, hang on a second. They were refining their fine motor skills. They were using their logical thinking. Like, there's so much to it, you know, that kind of way. So I suppose that's why. And then I suppose the other part of it was as well, a lot of links to kind of nearly my personal life as well, would be, I suppose there's nothing greater than the universe. If you were to think of the biggest thing in the world, it's the universe. But I personally feel, and my logo actually depicts it, I feel, in a nice way, is that it's a universe, but it's the heart is the boundary of it, because there is actually something greater than the universe, I feel, and that is the love of a parent for their child, or a carer for the child that they have as well. So yeah, that was really the background with that. I'm so lucky with the position that I'm in. I'm working 25 hours through CDI. So during
What's
that,
CDI?
So CDI is the Childhood Development Initiative.
Okay, and
so,
that's government.
Yeah, so it's
or?
one of the two ABC programs, the area-based childhood programs. And what that does is it just provides support for parents across the region that say that I'd be based in.
And would that be suggested by the settings to the parents, or what way can parents access that service? Yeah,
so there's myself and there's 6 other PCFs, parent care facilitators. So what that means is that we're predominantly based in an early years service, but we also work throughout the wider community then as well. So it could be providing one-on-one support for a parent, meeting a parent where they're at and working with them, I suppose, at that stage. And then there's also opportunities for group kind of get-togethers and more of a community-based get-together as well. So looking to September now, I'd be rolling out, say, like the Circle of Security training, the Parents Plus, baby infant massage. And I'm so blessed and lucky that I have that as my job, that I have the opportunity to network with these amazing professionals and to be able to access training and just further my knowledge, I suppose, into the everything early years. I eat, breathe, sleep early years. And then I suppose outside of my 25 hours from CDI, then that's where the early learning university has kind of come back into me now, that I'm like, okay, it makes sense now why it wasn't working out as a service. I feel I'm where I need to be at the minute anyway, and I just want to utilise all this information that I'm getting through my work and be able to kind of share it on a broader platform and in a bigger scale, really.
Early intervention, early start. How early is too early to start playing and experiencing things and activities on the world?
Like, I'd even say in utero is still not too early.
That's what I was hoping you would say.
They're like, no, you just can't. Like, it's so funny. I remember when I was pregnant on my first, and I'd be like singing the little nursery rhymes and songs, which obviously working in the early years, they're just kind of bed into your brain anyway. You're dreaming of these.
Shark, sorry.
But so yeah, and like people are like, what are you doing? Like you're not in work now. What are you singing? I'm like, baby's listening to me. Baby's hearing me now. Getting used to my voice and the songs and the value behind songs. And so I think some people were like, she's lost the plot. Yeah. But I genuinely just do. I'm so passionate about the value of these formative years. I mean, like, God love him. Before, I
used to listen to really loud house music and dance music.
Did you?
I know, he loves it. I'm like, what have I done?
Oh my God.
So stick to Baby Shark.
Baby Shark might be a little bit
okay.
But and it's funny, like, and even now, like, I'd play songs for the boys and I'd always tell them the story. You loved this when you were in Mommy's belly. I used to sing this for you, or Daddy used to play it on the guitar, or whatever the case may be. But like, before my little guy could even properly sit up, I was like throwing like sensory play at him and stuff. And it's so funny because, like, again, some people would have said to me, what are you doing giving him sensory play? Like, he's only starting to kind of move around. And I'm like, yeah.
But that motivates him to move more, to learn more,
Absolutely.
To reach, to move, to learn, to develop skills.
Definitely. Like, the indirect reasoning and rationale behind what I was doing was so great. And I suppose that's where I was so lucky to be able to rely on my knowledge and experience that I've had. But definitely, I don't think there's too early at all.
No. And not all kids will learn or interact the same way.
Definitely.
Some kids will be observing, some kids will be, standing back, and then when they're ready, as you mentioned earlier.
Definitely. Like, my youngest little fella, he would be definitely more of an observational learner. And like that, again, I suppose you could be, well, why is he not engaging, or why is he not involving? No, he is. And I suppose it's just to have that understanding of, again, every child is different. And for some child to dive straight in and get stuck in, that's their way and that's their approach. Whereas another child could take a period of time before they actually are ready to get stuck in themselves then. So it really is just, I suppose, the different approaches from such a young age. And it might sound silly that a 2-year-old is capable of having that, but it's inbuilt within them, and that's their makeup and that's how they learn. So it's really just nurturing it at the level that they're at, really.
Yeah, down to the experiences that we've provided.
Exactly.
Not just, it's a baby. He won't remember. That's what I hear a lot as well. They won't remember. What's the point? But they will, because it's turned into their subconscious mind. And that's what makes them who they are and the way they are, because they've experienced all that growing up.
Definitely. And like, I was actually recently at a training course, and it was very much so looking at like the neuroscience behind early years development. And like, it sounds so basic in principle, but it's so important, because it's like these early connections are sparking these neurons and these pathways within the child's brain. So again, they're just playing with Lego. No, they're not. They're creating massive, like, the brain is working so hard for such long-term longevity for that child, really. And to, again, just to acknowledge that and see the value behind their exposure to any engagement. And it doesn't have to be an activity, like even giving the child eye contact, singing with the child, speaking with the child. Like, it can be done on so many levels. And again, as part of the daily normal, you don't have to be going out and getting all your arts and crafts bits and pieces, or thinking, oh my God, messy play, what do I need to provide? It can be found in the most simplest of things, really, I think. And I think nowadays it's so hard. It's so easy nowadays to kind of get lost in this perfect picture, this Instagram perfect, where it's not really. No. And the fun is always found in the messiness and the chaos, really, because that's where the massive learning and these connections are all happening within the brain, which again is going to be just invaluable in their future life.
Absolutely, yeah. And I find when you're setting up an activity, I find the most successful ones are when the tray is empty, and you place a box beside it with random stuff in it, and that's it.
Yeah.
How long does that take?
Absolutely.
Nothing. Yeah. Even like, go get a basket, go around the house picking up things that are out of where they should be. Yeah. Put them in that basket. Place the basket beside the tough tray. We can talk about tough trays another day.
I love tough trays.
Or a table or whatever. And that's it. And step back and don't say anything. See what happens.
Yeah, and like that, they're always the interactions that kind of like go, oh my God, they're still playing with that. Yes. But sure, that's a brush.
And the problem solving that goes in it, and the creativity, imagination, and communication in many different ways, through play, through art, through sounds, through movement. It's just incredible.
It is. It's mind blown. It really, really is. It's mind blown. It's amazing.
Yeah. You do training as well for adults?
Yes. Oh, yes. So I am also, so aside from CDI, I'm also working as an early years tutor. So what that is I'm currently tutoring the QQI level 6 early years education module, and then the Montessori incorporated. So it's the blended module of learning there. And I absolutely love it. I mean, again, it just shows like the value of the early years sector. Like, the majority of the students that I'd have are working full time in it is a tough job, so rewarding, but it is a tough job. And then they're coming home and they're logging on and they're upskilling, and that's always been the way in the sector. Do you know that kind of way? Like, I suppose was it 2016 when they updated the regulations and they had to have that level 5 to even work within the service. But I suppose the upskilling and the training has always been something that is very much so prevalent. And like that, then, like I myself, when I was doing my degree, I was doing that and managing a full day service at the same time then as well. And I suppose that's just something that's lost again within the acknowledgement of the profession, as to they are hard working people working in the early years sector. They really, really are a massive part of that then as well. And I know we were speaking earlier about like reflective practice and how important that is. And I suppose at times it can be, who wants to admit, oh God, I'm not doing this so well, or maybe I need to do this differently. But I suppose quality provision in the early years, at the foundation of that more often than not, is reflection upon yourself and your practice. Because really within the early years service, you are you are responsible for the environment, for the play opportunities and activities that are available to the children. So for you to constantly kind of evaluate yourself and make adaptations as necessary, really, I think is so important. And it's definitely, it's a breath of fresh air to see like that they could have worked a long day and they're logging on and they're just buzzing because they want to learn more and they want to progress and they want to upskill their knowledge even more as well.
Is that on themselves? No one asks them to do that?
Absolutely. Okay. So these are all students that have decided, no, I currently have my level 5. I'm looking to move on to the level 6. And then like that, then obviously there's a number of students then that could possibly be years working in a service.
Level 5 is nearly gone now, is it? It's just going to be level 6, yeah.
No, so they're going, so they've changed the two. They've done a full reboot of the QQI level 5 and 6 for the early years. So instead now of having level 5 and level 6, they're going to have stage 1 and stage 2. And instead of having the full 8 modules, I think it's the 6 modules. So there's one actual module for inclusion, equality and diversity. And I think that is just absolutely amazing.
I did when I started level 6. Well, I did primary school teaching and then a master's. And then when I came, I did that in Spain. And then I came to Ireland and I did level 6. And then I'm not generalizing. I know that was just one setting where I did my placement and the inclusion. And then the teacher was showing me inclusion and then all the different setups in the class. And when she said, this is the boys section, constructions. This is the girls section, kitchen. All I want to say now is I never finished my level 6 after that, and I never went back to that placement. So having professionals like you and so many others that I've met along the way, it's incredible. Because if you have teachers, if you have teachers like that, I mean, yeah.
And that's something that I'm like, because I myself, when I first started in this sector, I would have had incidents like that, or not even incidents, but experiences in services that might not have been best practice and had quality provision at the core, really. And it's sad in a way, because like that could have deterred you totally from the sector altogether, or myself, or any student.
Or then do that same job.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Which is going to impact the education of those children, knowing, no, this is for girls, this is for boys, you go cook, you go build. And then that's life, and it's just really sad.
Absolutely. And I love nothing more to see, like, I know a couple of years ago, like, you'd have, say, maybe the little boy dressing up in the princess dress, and like you might have someone saying, oh my God, his dad's collecting him today, he's gonna freak out. And it's like, oh no, hang on a second, dad needs to know it was his choice, it was child-led.
It's about exploring.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, so what, it's a dress, that's us as an adult looking at, that's a dress on that boy, or
piece of clothing, that's all it
exactly.
is. And it's fun because it can twirl and then it moves and it's fun. That's all they're doing.
Yeah, so it is. And to, I suppose, just to kind of, again, acknowledge the importance of the child being their own little learner on their own journey and having that autonomy over the decisions that they make and what they want to play with, that there's not even a barrier of, oh no, I really want to play with those dollies, but I can't because that's a girl's toy. It's like, no, you can do anything you want and it's all within your power. Do you know, that kind of way?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's sad when you hear of services that might not be offering quality provision, and what impact then that could have as to enthusiastic educators that really want to be working in the sector, and a bad experience could knock them that they're like, actually, do you know what, I'm leaving the sector now.
Yeah,
do you know
that's why I think, and you said that as well, that time and space for self-reflection for the teachers and the educators within the setting, it's so important. It would be so beneficial. Because I don't think there is any, say, like once a week or once a month, let's all get together and talk about what we do and how we can make it better.
Yeah,
I don't think that exists.
It is. It's like a missing link in some services. Do you know that way? I suppose I'm so lucky in the service that I'm based in at the minute. It's a fabulous early year service. It really, really is. And they have a half an hour allocated in the morning of non-contact time. And that's purely a time for the staff to get together, put their plans in place and reflect on maybe the day previous, or think about maybe challenges that are within the service at the minute, and to kind of put that in place. And that's lovely for me to see now, but I also have worked in other services whereas that might not have been the case at all. And again, it's not from a badness, as sometimes it can just be the feasibility, staff shortages in the sector, we don't have the time. If it's a choice between maintaining ratios as per regulations or getting my self-reflective journal completed, obviously demand is we're going to have to prioritise that. Do you know that kind of way? But I definitely do feel, and I am hopeful, the fact that this new blend of modules, I suppose, that's going to be rolled out in the new version of the early years programme for educators starting in the sector, reflective practice is massively at the core of that then as well. That is going to become embedded within the culture, and regardless of the dynamics of the service, if it's balancing ratios or whatever the case may be, that there is still that importance and that element of self-reflection.
It's becoming a priority, yeah. And I think it's, you know, it makes sense, because up to now we've been just trying to cover the basics and say we have to have preschools, we have to have the ECCE, which didn't exist before, and the Ashtar and everything. But now we can make improvements.
Yes.
You know, we can't improve something that doesn't exist.
Absolutely.
We have that existence now, and that's when we can start making improvements. So we're definitely going in the right direction.
Yes, definitely. And I have to say, like, I'd say over the past 10 years, maybe there's been massive improvements, and it's amazing. It's really an exciting time, and I think it can only get better then as well. But it's just really kind of, if you could have a megaphone and just speak the work of the amazing educators within the service and the professionals within the service, and get that acknowledgement. I mean, you go to become an SLT, or you go to become an occupational therapist, the time that you're spending on that training, that's like, there's early years educators across the country, degree level, master's level, that have done that exact same amount of time. But at the same time, then very often it comes to, okay, early intervention, and it's okay, let's utilise the knowledge of an occupational therapist, let's utilise the knowledge of a psychologist or a speech and language therapist. Where's the early years provision included in that as well? And as I said earlier, sometimes it can be as simple as things that have been used within the early years services for years, visual schedules, visual aids, calm down, like all the different, like, basic simple things that are input into the environment as part of the norm, to kind of showcase that for parents to kind of be able to tap in and out of that, and be able to apply what's necessary or what's needed or what's going to help in their situation, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk attachment.
Yes.
You're a licensed facilitator of the Circle of Security Parenting Program. Tell us a little bit about this.
So I did this training in February, and oh my God, I just want to sing its praises. It is amazing. So it's an American program that's been around for quite some time, and there are some like psychotherapists that might roll it out, or family support workers. There are a number of people trained in it and licensed as well to facilitate it in Ireland, but I definitely think it just needs to be amplified even more. So it's really much so a parenting program that's reflecting on your childhood and how your childhood, unbeknownst to you, can actually dictate in the unsubconscious mind to how you apply to parenting. And it was just an amazing training course. Like, I had, again, with the reflection, it was reflection on things that, okay, I do this as a parent, and I just did it, but I never actually realised as to why. And it's really just kind of about looking back on yourself and how you're going to apply your previous experiences in your childhood, and how that can adapt then and go forward then into your parenting. I just found it absolutely amazing. So I'm really looking forward to being able to roll that training out.
And that analyses each parent's experiences.
Yes, exactly.
And then it makes you aware and more conscious of what you're doing and why you're doing it and where it comes from. And then so you can improve what you're doing based on that. Like,
it's fantastic, and there's a lot of value, I suppose, to going to some parenting workshops, or that I hope to offer as well, or like a webinar of certain things for parents. But I think that's great to get all this information, but I feel sometimes parents might come away and go, okay, so they're telling me this is what you do to overcome this challenge, but at the same time, that's not going to work for my child. And that's really bringing it back to the parent being the expert to their own child again. Whereas with the Circle of Security, it's very personal to the parent, and it's not giving you this information. Okay, there's the information now, you should be able to apply that at home, off you go. It's really just giving you a different lens to look through. And it's really through working on yourself that you build that awareness, as you said. And that's more meaningful, I think, to be able to bring into your parenting journey then as well. Yeah, you create
that connection between what you're learning and your own experience, and make it personal so you can apply it straight away.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant. And why security?
So it's the circle of security. So the visual of it would be that it's a circle. So at the start of the circle is the secure hands, and that is the parent or the main caregiver. And I suppose there's a lot of emphasis on, okay, so the child always knows there's that constant secure base for them to come back to. But then there's a lot of focus then on the other side of the circle, whereas the child is going out independently to the world to explore, and how the parent is encouraging that for the child. So it could be that the child feels very safe in the secure hands, but how is the parent facilitating their need for exploration and their own independence as well? So that would be the opposite side. And then the other part of the circle again is that when the child comes back from exploring, and it's so commonly observed in the playground, the child would run off all excited, go up the slide, and what do? Then they look at mum and dad. And it's really to be like, did you see what I did? And that's a part of it for them to then, within that circle, when it is working as you'd hope for it to be, that they're getting kind of acknowledgement and praise for, oh my God, you did that for yourself, well done. And then they're coming back to the secure hands then again. So it is just that visual of where on the circle is your child, what is the need that they're kind of communicating to you at the minute, and how can you meet that for the child. And I just felt myself personally, it just gave you that visual to be able to, in the crisis moment, oh my God, he's screaming on the floor, I'm trying to get the dinner ready, oh, what am I doing here? And obviously, at times you could say, okay, maybe he's tired. But sometimes it could be, again, just reflecting on yourself. No, do you know what? Today I collected him from creche, and as soon as we came in, I didn't give him the 5 minutes one-on-one time. I got straight into dinner because I was delayed getting home from work. And it just kind of gives you those different little lenses to look through. And it's so useful then within like that, a crisis moment of a tantrum or a meltdown or whatever the case may be, that you can fully think about, okay, what is my child trying to communicate to me right now, and how can I meet that need for them?
And it could be they're just disconnected from you, and they're looking for that, what we think of, they're looking for attention, but they actually do need that attention. And it's the quality time, and we said it in a previous episode, it takes 3 minutes of quality time, you know. And then what we were saying earlier, bring them to you and help you make dinner, because that's going to change everything.
Absolutely. It's a game changer. It's actually a game changer. And it might sound so like, no, that can't be. And it's not a quick fix. And I'm not trying to say, Jesus, if there was a quick fix, I think we'd all be on that. But it is. It's just, what are they trying to say to me? And what can I do? And how can I respond to that? How can I include them in that? And there's been times that it can just be, do you know what, I'm going to abandon the dinner. It's not got, nothing bad is going to happen. We'll be 5 minutes extra waiting. I'm going to sit down on the floor with you amidst the chaos right now.
Porridge for dinner is great.
Absolutely, more fun. And it's actually funny. I saw on I can't remember what social media site that I'd seen it on, but it was like my favourite. I was speaking to my mum recently, and I told her that my favourite dinner as a child was when we'd have random mix of pizza, hot dogs, whatever the case may be. And the mum cried and was like, those were the nights that I thought I was failing as a parent. And I was like, sugar, I didn't cook them a home cooked meal tonight. But it just goes to show that was like one massive memorable moment for that person as they went into adulthood then of their childhood. So yeah, it really just reinstates, I suppose, the importance of striving for perfection. That's not actually achievable. It's not achievable for anyone to be the perfect parent. No such thing exists. There's no such thing as the perfect human. So,
but we forget that they don't want the most amazing things. They want us there now. Absolutely. And there's another example as well, you know, taking the kids to Disneyland and having all this big massive holiday, and then you spend so much money and you book the whole week off and everything, and then they throw a tantrum because they're tired and they're overwhelmed, and then you're like, I spent all this money and I did this and I did that, but they never asked for it.
Absolutely.
They didn't want that. They want you to eat pizza, hot dogs and hot chocolate for dinner on the floor in the dirty kitchen. Yes. That's what they want.
That's them living their best life. Don't mind Disneyland. 100%. Yeah. And I think it's really just...
Now I say that because I haven't been to Disneyland, so maybe it is good. But it's the quality time that they really need, and a happy parents.
And I think to get that message across to the parents, don't put pressure on, like we put pressure on ourselves anyway. Don't put that added pressure on yourself of striving perfection. Just be you. That's like to your child, you are the best thing in the world. like even sometimes, like I run a toddler group as well, and part of it could be at the first stages the parents might be, oh God, like I'm not a good singer, and it's like, to your child, you are the most amazing singer in this world. And it's just instilling that confidence within parents to say, no, I am doing enough in what I'm doing. And as you said, 3 minutes of quality engagement a day, that is so meaningful for a child. So it's not unachievable to do, and it can be incorporated into the daily living as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And how can we know what are signs of our children not having a secure attachment? I suppose, again, it's so different for everyone. I suppose, like John Bowlby, you could go down that route of saying, like, okay, so his different ways of looking at attachment, how is the child responding when the parent's not there? And I do definitely feel there's so much to that then as well. It's really just the child knowing, I suppose, and again with reference to the circle of security, that they have that secure base. They have the encouragement to go and be independent, and then they also have the acknowledgement of how great they are when they're coming back to the secure base then as well. And I definitely feel that really is, if you can confidently say within yourself, and again it's just all about reflecting upon yourself to say, oh God, I didn't want him to go and play with that toy, or I didn't want him to climb that wall, that was too dangerous. But I sat with my discomfort and encouraged him to be independent and give him the autonomy for that decision for himself to engage in risky play, sure, that's how he's going to learn. Like, obviously once it's not a massive one. But that, it's like they're going to take the learning and giving them that. And I think that can only flourish then for them to be understanding, okay, mum is trusting in me, that I have my own skills within myself to be able to evaluate danger and to be able to make adjustments as necessary. Do you know, that kind of way? So yeah, I just think, if on reflection, that you can say, I am encouraging of they know they can come to me all the time. I am encouraging of when they're wanting to do something, and sometimes it can be as simple as you're instinctively, and again that good instinct as a parent is going to go, what harm is going to come from anything that they do. And sometimes it's sitting with that just for a split second, and rather than rushing in with what your natural instinct is, which to protect them, is weighing up and risk assessing, really, okay, what's the worst that can happen in this situation? And sometimes the answer, if it was to be, I'm actually discouraging them from being independent and exploring for themselves. What's the cost of me stopping them?
Absolutely. And to have that awareness, and then to relish in their achievement then as well, of whatever they've done, be it good, be it bad, or whatever the case may be, that you're acknowledging. I definitely think they really are kind of the core foundations into how you can say that, okay, I am offering a secure attachment. Really, it's not I spend 10 hours a day sitting on the floor playing with my child. That's not a secure attachment.
Not realistic.
It's really not, like it's just adapting.
And that's actually an insecure attachment if they need you that much.
That's it, definitely. Like, it's always, more often than not, it's coming from a place of good, wanting to do best for them, by them. But really, I think and it's hard to go against your natural gut, but really it is about just kind of trusting in them and allowing them, like, they're a human being in this world as well, and allowing them to use their voice and to use their own thoughts and to do what they want to do, obviously in a safe, controlled environment, but to just kind of nurture that a little bit in the child, and again just help them to do things for themselves. I think there's so much value to that, especially because then they're off to their ECCE, they might be off to creche, they're moving on to school, and later even moving on to university, or whatever the case may be, you're travelling the world, that they had those initial foundation level basics instilled with them as a child. Really, I think that.
Well, I came to Ireland 12 years ago, and for me, they always say, oh, but you came on your own, and I came on holidays. Well, I wasn't sure what I was doing here. And, you know, for me, what really kept me not motivated, it's safe. You know, it was having my parents' support. I know they were away, but knowing they were supporting me no matter what, and they'd be there if anything went wrong, even though they were so far away. It was that secure attachment that made me so confident in doing whatever I was doing.
That's amazing.
And starting a new life in a new country and learning a new language and developing everything from scratch. But just knowing they're there if anything goes wrong, they're there. Or, you know, just there's emotional support, even.
Absolutely.
Anything. I know I'm not going to date them. I don't want to ask them for money, or I don't want anything, but just knowing if anything goes wrong, they're not going to blame me. Oh, you shouldn't have done that, or I told you not to do that. They'll be like, it's okay, you tried, well done.
Yes.
That's what made me strong.
Wow. And that's amazing to have the physical distance of being in a totally different country, and how strong your attachment and how secure you felt attached to parents, even though you were miles apart. Do you know that kind of way? So
and things like when the child is in preschool and he's fine, and then the parents come in to pick him up and they start crying. Why does that happen?
You know what? And it's so funny because it is always like, especially this time of year with the.
But he was fine. I promise.
Literally, if I could just show you 2 minutes ago, there was not a bother. Sometimes it is just the release of emotions. Oh my God, you're back now.
Holding,
yeah, absolutely. Or sometimes. Yeah, like a funny one or a classic one could be the parent, and I've been the parent dropping the child off at creche, and sometimes they have to be peeled off you going in the door, and they're so upset, and then within 2 minutes, and over the years, the amount of parents that say genuinely 2 minutes they will be fine. And now as a parent I can see myself that anxiousness of, oh God, no, they're not going to be, because they're so upset. I know how upset they are, but it's gas. Like sometimes it's the anxiety around they're leaving now, this is something that's going to happen. And sometimes I would have always encouraged parents, as cruel as it seems, just drop them and go, because sometimes that hanging around is just creating that space of, because
they feel your insecurity, and that's worse.
Absolutely. Do you know that, like, so I definitely think, and it's funny, or it's the same with like, oh my God, he ate chicken curry today. What do you mean he ate chicken curry? I cook chicken curry and he never eats it for me. And it's sometimes like, as much as the educators are a value within the room, so are the other children, for them to look and say, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. I can
do it.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it's just giving them that sense of, really, but it's heartbreaking, especially as a parent when you've collected them.
It's
and it's
hard.
Like, were they this upset all day? And more often than not, it's like, no, absolutely not.
I forgot to ask at the beginning, because I like to ask you about your own childhood, but I'm going to flip the question a little bit, and we know a lot about you and what you do now and your passion. What do you think comes from your childhood, from your own childhood?
I suppose, like, but it's funny, like I think the best gift that I ever got until my babies came along. She'll kill me when she hears this. But my sister, so there's a 1 year and 11 months between me and my sister, and she has just been the best friend for life. Like, I don't have any memories of her not being in my childhood, and I wouldn't have been a very sociable child at all. I really would have had quite poor social skills, to be honest. And I always would have looked to her as, she's the one that is a little bit more sociable. So it was always kind of me being in her shadow, or engagement with like children would have been through her friends nearly, and that closeness that we had. And then when I was 16, nearly 17, my brother was born then, and it was at a time when I was starting on my early years journey. And I remember being so fascinated by seeing him and what I was learning in college. I was seeing him doing in the house, and it was just amazing. So I definitely think the connection that I have with my siblings is something that I want to be able to instill in the boys. And one thing I always would have said was, oh my God, I'd love, like, if anything I could keep from my childhood and bring to my own life, please God, when I grow up, it is that I have kids close together in age. And I think that's such a massive thing. Another one would be my mum. She is, like you were saying, your mum and dad are going to support you no matter what. My mum is my biggest fan, always. She always has been. And at times, I suppose it would have been, I don't really know why she's doing what she's doing, but you know what? You go do that, and having that knowledge and knowing she's going to be proud of me no matter what. If I say I'm going to do something and I do it and I don't do as good a job as I wanted to do, Mama's going to still think I'm the best ever. So she's such a support. And my sister and myself would often laugh. There was two things, I suppose, from our childhood that would have always been a little bit of a joke between us. Was, you get in our house, if one of us was ever sick, and we were both asthmatic as children, so more often than not one of us was sick at some stage, especially during the winter months, and it was, my mum made you feel like there was no one else in the world when you were unwell. And we used to kind of have the joke between us, like one of us would be lying on the couch and be like, I'm not well at all. Mum's going to get me a sandwich, and you'd be looking at we'd be so looking at each other like, you're grand, you're fine, like, look at you, you're not as pale as you were yesterday, you're grand. So that was one thing, that you always felt like the most important person in the world when you were unwell. And then the other one was on your birthday as well. Like, there was nothing like it on your birthday, and how special you were. And that's not to say throughout our day to day there always was. Like, I definitely think my mum has just been my biggest supporter, and that's one thing I really, really want my boys to know is is that no matter what they do in life, I am always going to be their biggest fan.
Unconditional.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. That's so important. The last thing before we go, what would be your advice for any mums and dads listening, that if they could take one thing out of this episode, what would it be?
I think just know that you being you is more than enough. It really, really is. Like, there's so much you can do, and there's so much knowledge out there, which again is only going to enhance what you are already offering your child. But I think there's so much power and there's so much value in a parent like that. It could be talking to their child, it could be singing to their child, spending time, quality interaction with their child. So like that, not necessarily through the phone or whatever the case may be, but to just have even that 3 minutes throughout the day of quality and engagement with their child, and to know there's no such thing as a perfect parent. That's not real. But being you as the parent that you are, that's more than enough.
Perfect as it gets.
Absolutely.
There's also an app on the phone, and I have it myself because I am quite addicted to my phone, because I'm working on the phone all the time, because I'm at home. So I'd be with them, but I'll be like, oh, I'm not going to check my email, I'm going to do this, I'm going to that. So I downloaded an app. It's called Stay Focused.
Okay.
And you can block your whole phone. You can block apps, or for a certain period of times. I have some apps set at, like, say I can only spend on this email, for example. I'm addicted to my email. 1 hour a day. So once it's gone past 1 hour, it doesn't let you open it anymore.
Wow.
Or you can block your whole phone. So if I want to spend quality time with my children, I'll set 1 hour. I can't unlock my phone.
Wow.
And I won't use it, not pictures, no, nothing.
That's
I'm there
amazing.
100% with my children. And if that's what it takes, you know, just recognize your own weaknesses. And that's me now telling you that's what I do.
That sounds amazing, because I'm so guilty of it myself. Like that, you set out with these great intentions and then the phone is pinging and then it's going again and you're like, okay,
such a
I really
easy
need
distraction.
It really, really is. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
And, you know, I'll say, no, I'm working. I'm not.
Yeah.
Work and wait. Your kids can't.
Absolutely.
They'll grow, and then you'll leave with that guilt. Oh, I didn't spend enough time with them.
Definitely.
So
just being you with your child, I think, is more than enough. Absolutely. It's great to have so many resources available and knowledge and different tips and tricks available. Really, just, I think the most authentic to be as a parent is being you with your child. Definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jayne.
No problems at all. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
I'll have to listen to I think this is an episode that you need to listen twice to really, you know, it's to build that habit of connection with your children and just be you.
That's it. Just adapting it as a new habit and a new part of the routine, really, if anything. Like, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks a million for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to share your own story on our podcast, please get in touch through our social media. Don't forget to like, share and follow so you'll never miss out on upcoming episodes. See you next time!